So my name is Deb Jennings, and I head up the North America operations for patient services within Kyowa Kirin. In my career, I've had a little bit of a jungle gym. I've had really diverse roles in communications, marketing, strategy ops, digital, and transformation. And I've always found myself gravitating towards those patient roles because you really see the profound impacts and how you can really help serve the unmet needs of patients, especially in the rare space. And part of the reasons I joined Kyowa Kirin is my values match their mission. And their mission is really to create profound impacts on unmet needs for patients and also be the most trusted and admired rare company. Some folks might not know about Kyowa Kirin, so I'll just share a few things. They're a global company. They have rich heritage. They're a Japanese-based company. We've been around for about 70 years. And we work in a few different spaces, predominantly within rare, within hematology, oncology, and then also bone and mineral. And I'll also say our people make up why our company is so rich and vibrant. And we look for talents in the organization, not just with those hard technical skills, but people that really mirror what our mission is. And we're 5,800 employees strong globally. And as I mentioned, their mission is to create a profound impact for patients, especially with unmet needs. We are doubling down on rare. That's really important to us. In our current portfolio, we represent rare in hematology and oncology. In the future, we want to expand into other as well, but rare is really the DNA and the fabric in our organization and where we spend most of our time. Because again, think about it, the last data I saw, data point is that there's 10,000 rare diseases and 95% of them do not have a treatment. So there's a lot on the line. And I feel like we need to all work as an organization in a rare community to bring hope to meet chaos to serve those patients. I had the pleasure of actually sitting shoulder to shoulder on that panel, talking about the volatility of the environment when we think about policy. And we tackled topics such as AI, tariffs, as well as HHS and the government and the uncertainty there. And what I counseled folks on and the advice I gave is there's really only so much you can control. We can control the work effort we put in. We can control how we can maybe plan for some of the changes and how we react to them. But there's very little we can control, unfortunately, with the ever-changing environment. And so the moderator asked us each to talk about what's keeping us up at night around some of these policies. And what I spoke about is accumulators and maximizers. And for those of you who don't know what those are, accumulators are benefit design plans within insurance companies, and they don't allow patients to utilize copay manufacturer copay cards and apply it to their out-of-pockets. So it truly creates an immense access barrier to sometimes life-saving medications. And so we as a company took a position of taking information and really making it understandable and serving it up and amplifying awareness of the information so folks can be empowered and become educated and take action. And so I was really proud of the position that Kyowa Kirin took where we did this educational campaign and we talked to patients and we talked about what these accumulators are, how they could be impacting them, and also empowered them with education so that they can be informed and also advocate for themselves as well, so that they can remove some of those access barriers to some of the medicines that they need. So we talked a little bit about tariffs, and the consensus across the panel in the audience is, like I said, it's just the unknown right now. We just don't know where that's going to land. And so what we agreed is the best thing to do is scenario plan. What is the best case scenario and the worst case scenario? And whether you're a patient, whether you're sitting in a nonprofit seat or a for-profit seat, really figuring out like what those scenarios could be and how do you plan for it and how you react to it with the goal of just bringing hope to meet chaos, because there's a lot on the line for this rare community for sure. It was a really important panel, and there was a lot of diversity on that panel. We were all from representing different organizations. And, I answered this question about AI sitting in the head of digital transformation in my last role and in my current role in leading a patient services organization. And my speech from the panel was maybe a little bit controversial because what I said was, AI and technical and digital is so important as we innovate, but we don't want to undermine or compromise the human element. And what do I mean when I say that? It's really important to understand what that patient journey and the care continuum looks like. And along the way, what are the pain points that we need to solve for? And then determine, does this really include a digital solution or a human solution along the way? And every company is in different spaces in their spectrum of digital. Some could be laggards, which are people that are a little bit hesitant. In the middle of the spectrum are early adopters and fast followers. And then on the end of the spectrum are the folks that are innovating, that are digital evangelists. And Kyowa Kirin, we're in the middle. And we're very happy with that position because we want to innovate, but we want to innovate responsibly and not compromise that human element. And the other thing I had mentioned is, as you're building solutions with AI, a lot of the times internally you make decisions and you check that feasibility and the viability box, but you don't talk to patients. And that is like a huge miss from my perspective. And so it's so important to get out there and share concepts with patients and caregivers so that you can also understand the things you're putting into the universe. Are they going to be desirable, user-friendly, and are people that are actually going to use them? So I'll share 3 examples with you. One that I think is really profound is a few companies are working on clinical trials and using AI to find patients and match them with clinical trials to really find those medicines that might help deliver life-changing outcomes for them. So I thought that was pretty impressive and important work. The other piece, with Kyowa Kirin, we have a lot of use cases across the globe. The one I highlighted is around generating patient insights so that we can mine those insights and understand, again, what are those pain points across the care continuum so we can help continue to solve for those, whether it's a human solution or a technology solution. And then the other piece that was talked about, and I saw in another organization I was a part of, is building a provider platform so that all the data is in one place. You're triangulating the data. So you're bringing data together and you're serving it up so that it's understandable, and you're empowering providers to become educated on it about rare disease. And so they have the information in their hands to be able to educate those patients as well. So there's a lot of very diverse ways folks were using AI, but I think at the end of the day, it's all for a very good cause. And the 2 things we're trying to accomplish is how do you work better, faster, more efficiently in organizations, but also how do you create exceptional experiences for the patients that we serve. Now, I'm going to share something that a panelist, a moderator asked me, and I think it's an important question. If I was in front of a policymaker, what would I want them to know about the rare community? And it's really 3 things. The first is why the community is so important. As I mentioned, we're 10,000 strong, 10,000 diseases, 95% don't have a treatment. And the reason that is so important is because when you think about rare, you wouldn't just be making decisions on the current population of patients. A lot of these diseases are genetic. So when you think about it, the decisions you make today are also going to help future generations. So I think that's the why is so important. The other piece is the face of rare. I think it's important to get patients in front of these policymakers so they understand who these people are. And what I love about this community that I would want policymakers to know is that a lot of these patients don't want their disease to define who they are. I had the pleasure at the conference to talking to a lot of patients. One is a person, Dan, that is living with AML or an oncology diagnosis. And he actually is going out there to lead a global advocacy organizations to connect patients like him. Another patient I met, his name's William, he's a retired attorney. And he's turned his now career in retirement into taking really hard to understand policy and demystifying it and helping patients understand how that policy can impact them and how to really advocate for themselves. So I think that's an important question. If we were in front of policymakers, how would we define ourselves as a community? So I did want to share that as well.